The title of this video is a lie. This is supposed to be everything I read in December, but I'm including my final read of November because it was just too good of a book not to include. I think we've got like 8 books here to look at, so I'll just get this started here with East of Eden. I read this one in November. Recently, I decided I got to read more of the classics. Now, I would not be caught dead reading modern fiction, or like, let's say 99.99999% of it. I really do just read older stuff when it comes to fiction. Nonfiction, I'm fine reading some modern stuff and whatever, but when it comes to fiction, I've mostly read like horror fiction, and that's all been stuff from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and same thing for like detective novels. I've read like 40s, 50s, 60s kind of stuff, and but like things people would classify as like literature. I've read a few. I've read 1984 and Animal Farm and Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World, and I liked those, but I decided I was going to read some more like literature, and I started with Of Mice and Men, and that was pretty good. Nice little short read, and I decided why not? I'm just going to go for East of Eden. It is like 400, no, what am I saying, 400? It's like 600. Yeah, this thing's like, I think it's like 601 pages. And nice chunky book, but I really enjoyed this thing. There's like dozens of characters, and it covers a long time, and it's really dense, and to be honest, it was a little daunting. When it comes to fiction, I like a book that's, let's say, 200 pages, 300 pages-ish. Let's call it 250. I like saying that's like 200, 225, 250 pages. All right, maybe 300. So when I pick up something that's 600 pages and is kind of, it's got a reputation for being a sprawling, like epic, it was kind of daunting. But after, I'd say maybe like 3 or 4 chapters, probably about like 3 chapters in, I just that daunting feeling kind of went away, and I just fell into it. I really felt like these characters, like almost like I knew them. It was just a really neat little book. I don't think there's too much I could say about East of Eden that hasn't already been said, but I really dug it. So that was my final read of November, and now we'll actually get into the actual December reads. And so the first thing I read in December was The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Now, I know it might be a little strange for a grown man to sit down and read a book that was kind of written for kids, but you know what? I love the movie, and I really bonded with my 4-year-old cousin over watching The Wizard of Oz, and I have a couple nieces that are 3 and 1, and they also really love The Wizard of Oz, and just I watched it and Return to Oz, and I like really dug them, and I was like, you know what, I'll read the books. So I bought the first 4. I didn't know there were so many Wizard of Oz books, but I read this one. It was neat. Basically, like I'd say 95% like the movie. But then I read the sequel, The Marvelous Land of Oz. So books 2 and 3 are what they based Return to Oz on. And book 2, honestly, it's okay. But I think with both of these books, though, I just was a little bit bored just because the writing style is for children. The good part is you could these Oz books are just the way they're written, and they're pretty short too, and these are illustrated. I think this thing barely comes to like 200 pages. You could get through these in like a couple days, really, so it's not like a huge time suck, but I just found myself just a little bit bored because I'm like, well, it's written for kids, it's just, I don't know, they weren't bad, but I wouldn't say I really loved them either. So I don't even know if I'm even going to read really the 3rd and 4th books, or I might just give it to my little cousin or my nieces. We'll see. I need a drink. So next, oh man, we're getting to one of my favorite reads. Maybe not even of the year, but like all time. I've debated doing some videos on similar topics to this. Maybe I will. We'll see. Maybe if you know what, I absolutely hate the thing that YouTubers do where they say like comment down below whatever. I hate that because it's just engagement farming. I know if anyone wants to comment, they're just gonna do it anyway, so I hate doing that, and I never ask anyone to subscribe or any of that stuff. But seriously, if you guys know any books similar to Chaos, let me know. You know what, you don't even have to comment it, you could email me it. You don't have to engage with the video if you don't want to. But yeah, let me know if anyone knows any books like Chaos. So Chaos, for anyone who doesn't know, it's written by Tom O'Neill. This is his only book. He spent 20 years putting this thing together. Let's see, the last like, I don't know, like 40 pages of this is like just like little citations and stuff. So let me see, how long is this book? It's 442 pages. I flew through this thing. I love conspiracy theories. I think the government's evil. I don't trust any politicians or any government agencies. I hate taxes. I think taxes are evil. I think the government's up to no good, and I think mind control and MK Ultra is real. And well, I mean, obviously it was real, but I think it's real in the sense of they didn't like discontinue it, like they kept doing it, and I think a lot of people are under it. And but basically, Tom O'Neill, he's a reporter, and he was assigned doing a little story about the whatever, maybe like the 20th anniversary of the Manson murders, and he went down the rabbit hole. And he went down and found so many inconsistencies, lies, and he cites everything. And even like all this government stuff about, was Manson working with the FBI, and was he under MK Ultra, and all these things, all these theories, stuff that couldn't be accounted for. And like, it's oh my god, guys, I don't even know how to like even properly like recap this book, because there's so much stuff packed into these 400 something pages. So much stuff. In fact, I think Tom O'Neill on a podcast said he might even have to release a volume 2. And in this book, he talks about just how many different angles and everything that he just did not have room for, or else this book would have been even longer. But I can't recommend it enough. And it doesn't even read like a I hate the government and believe in conspiracy theories thing either. It just really lays out the facts. It's straightforward. It's very readable. We're all familiar with the case, I guess, but even if you're not, it wouldn't really confuse you. And it's not even a daunting book either. Like, it just reads really easy, and it just flows really well. And yeah, I don't know, guys. It's just gnarly. That's all I could say is really, like, I think I'm bad at reviewing books, but I can just tell you guys, it's gnarly. I was going through this thing, guys, like, oh my god. You know, the reason I was able to go through so many books is because the last, I usually don't, I read like 2 books a month, maybe 3. And I went through 7 in December. I only went through so many because for a while at work, it's been pretty slow, especially because of the weather. We had like maybe a day and a half where the system was down. We couldn't do any work. And I always bring a book with me, just in case. Most days I'm not even able to read like 2 pages at work, but sometimes I could. And like this month, I had days at work where I was getting through 50, 60. I think one day I went through like 80 pages. I was just like, I was getting through these books because work's been slow this month. I know after winter it's going to pick back up, but I was just, yeah, I was going through these. But yeah, I was just flying through this, and even sometimes when there was stuff to do, I think some of my coworkers might have got annoyed with me and they saw me reading, but this was one I just could not put this down when I started it. Next we have No Rules, Rules. This is a book by Reed Hastings. He's one of the co-founders of Netflix, and their CEO, or maybe it's a co-CEO role. I don't have a whole lot to say about this book. I'm not necessarily a big business guy. I have a business degree, but ended up not even putting it to use. I think business could be interesting sometimes, but I'm more so just read this because I'm just always reading like film industry stuff, and well, I don't know, I was just interested in it just because of Netflix. So I read it. It was cool. It was an interesting read. I really don't have much more to say about this book. It's like 275 pages maybe. And it's pretty straightforward and just interesting. I don't know. Not too much to say about that. Next, we have All Quiet on the Western Front. I really don't remember why I bought this book, but it was only like maybe $5 on Amazon. And it's regarded as the greatest war novel of all time. And let me tell you, I have not read any other war novels, but I do not agree with that statement. I was bored out of my mind. Now this book's 300 pages, but it's written very simple and straightforward, and you could get through it in a couple days if you've got the time. Really, like I was flying through this thing, but I don't know. Everyone just made it seem like it was dark and crazy, and I don't know, I just did not really feel anything when reading it. Now, it had interesting moments for sure. I think it was just an okay book. I'm not saying it was just absolute garbage. It's not garbage, but just the status of this book and how many people praise it. I was wondering if we even read the same book, because the interesting moments were few and far between, and I was just bored, and it was very repetitive. I feel it could have been 100 pages. It didn't have to be 300 pages, but yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front. At least that was another classic I could check off my list. Let me take another drink. Let's see. Oh man, this might be this is runner-up for favorite book I read this year. Right behind Chaos. I think Chaos has to be number one, but this is Nobody's Girl, and to be honest, I don't know if her last name, how exactly you pronounce it, but Virginia Roberts, I've been saying it Guffrey in my head. I don't know, to be honest, if that's how you say her last name, but she was an Epstein survivor, and she let the world know she was not, I don't know, is YouTube gonna like ban me if I say certain words? I don't know. I'll just say it. She said she was not suicidal, and then only a few months before, I think like 6 months before this book was published, she was found dead of an apparent suicide. I'm very distrusting of the government. I think most people are, especially now that the Epstein files dropped. And they are all redacted and redacted and redacted, and there's just page upon page, there's just a black wall, the United States of redaction we are, and I'm just very distrusting of them, and so especially when an Epstein survivor is coming out with this book, and she said she wasn't suicidal and they found her dead. I don't believe she killed herself, especially after reading this book. She had a lot of problems. To say she was traumatized is to say the least. I mean, this book, it's real heavy. I especially when I started reading it, I would take little breaks. I would read 5 pages, 8 pages, and I would set it down just to take it in. Epstein wasn't the first person that abused her or trafficked her. She had been abused since she was a child, and it was a very heartbreaking book. And after reading about her and how she overcame it, and things she did and wanted to do for other survivors, it just I'm reading this and there's no way that this woman killed herself. I just don't believe it. And I also think, because she died 6 months before publication, I also read it and I even wonder if there's anything they changed. certain names are redacted. She says there's a few guys she refers to as like Billionaire 1, 2, and I think maybe 3. There's a few times where she says like, well, I can't say this guy's name. I mean, she names a few celebrities, she does for sure. But there's some where the names are redacted, and I just wonder, was she gonna name them? Was she gonna name these billionaires? Or was it always the plan just to refer to them as Billionaire 1, 2, and 3? I think somewhere in here, I can't remember if it was her or if it was maybe in one of the notes, because there are some notes from her co-writer, collaborator in here, where it's something about like, oh, well, if I name them, like, lawsuits, but I don't know, I just think the whole situation's fishy. She was just not going to kill herself, and then to be found dead 6 months before publication, I don't know. But it's tough to say you enjoyed a book when you know what this sort of subject matter that's in here, but I'm just glad she was able to tell her story, and that she did get to help people, and that she did get to expose these things. I think Virginia did a lot for Epstein survivors, and it was just, I don't know, I mean, it was a good book. Anyways, sorry, I know that was I felt a bit somber talking about that, but we've got 2 more books here. This one is Suddenly Something Clicked by Walter Murch, who was the writer and director of Return to Oz. Now, this book, I actually almost didn't even buy it, because I do love books about film, and this did interest me. This is about film editing and sound design, and it did interest me. And it was like almost $40. I think it was like $37.50. And I wanted, Amazon was doing a buy 2 get 1 free. That's how I got this. I got Virginia's book, and I've got one other book that's above me somewhere. I haven't read it yet, but I was like, all 3 books I was getting were like real expensive, and I had 2 books picked out, and I needed a 3rd one, and then I saw this one was in the sale when I was looking just at like the film book categories, and I was like, I don't know, it's expensive. And me personally, I'm a writer, so I'm mostly interested in writers and directors. And I mean, I know I just said Walter Murch wrote and directed Return to Oz, but that was his one movie he wrote and directed. He's an editor and a sound guy, and he's edited dozens of movies, and so I'm always just more interested on the writing part or the directing part. But I don't know, I was like, you know what, I like Return to Oz, I'll get this. And oh boy, this was another one I flew through, but I will say the pages, if you could see, they're bright white, like a textbook. And my eyes were hurting me, guys. I was like getting dizzy reading this sometimes, to be honest. Especially at work, the light above me is like real bright, and it just like reflects off the page, and I was just like rubbing my eyes constantly. Sorry, I know that's kind of goofy, but I actually ended up really enjoying this book. I never really thought much about film editing and sound, and how it really is an extension of the writing and of the directing. And I just never really, I don't know, I just never really gave it much thought. I will say that, I've been writing for a while, since when? I don't know, 2016 maybe, or 17. I've been writing, and when I got into movies, and I decided, well, I would really like to work in movies too, and not just books. And I was learning a lot about movies, and learning a lot about like older Hollywood. My favorite decade is the 70s in Hollywood for sure, but I had a big phase where I was learning about everything from the inception of film and the silent era, which is pretty boring movies, silent films, but a lot of the directors, especially every film bro's favorite, Alfred Hitchcock, a guy like Hitchcock would film exactly what he needed, and I just knew from all the Hitchcock interviews and everything I read about him and I watched, that he knew exactly where he wanted to cut, and he knew what would happen. So when it comes to a Hitchcock movie, there's not a lot of deleted scenes. really, I don't know if I can name one Hitchcock movie where I ever heard actually of there being a deleted scene. Maybe besides like a few frames, I think, in Psycho that were cut, that were then found, and I think they re-released it like, I don't know, like 5 years ago. That's like it, like a few frames. That's all I could think of, at least. So I just already knew that like Hitchcock would, the way he worked with the cinematographer is like, this is this part of the scene, and then here's, like, he didn't really do coverage. Like, same thing with like a Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma doesn't really do a whole lot of coverage. He knows, like, I want this scene to be wide. I want the camera to move this way through the scene. This is what we're doing. We're going to do an up close on this line. Like, he knows that. So, you know, my thought was always the director, you know, he knows where he wants each thing to be, and then the editor just cuts off the ends and tries to seamlessly make it go together. And which can be the case, but it's not always the case. And the way they edit and the things they do, I think, are actually kind of underappreciated, or at least me personally, I actually kind of underappreciated them. And after reading this book, I mean, it really made me think about editing and how it relates to storytelling and what the editor does. And yeah, I think anyone that's interested in film, whether you just like movies or you actually want to work in them or make them, I think you should read this book. This is a really cool one. I was actually very eager because in like the little introduction and in the afterword, Walter Murch mentions that he's wrote like a couple more volumes. I think at least maybe one more. I don't know. He said he's going to cover all the topics of like writing and editing and whatever else there is, and he's going to cover them, and that he wrote so much that it would have been such a huge book, so it's going to be released in, I think, at least 2 volumes. And I was looking right away for that second volume if it had a release date, but as of like 2 days ago when I checked last, no, it doesn't look like there's even a title yet or any sort of pre-order or anything for the next volume. But I really dug this. I thought it was cool. And the final book that I read this month is Future Boy by Michael J. Fox. It's a very thin book. I think it's 156 pages or so. And it's written pretty straightforward. This is another one where really I would have probably just gone through it in one day. It's written really simply and straightforward. If I didn't have work and some other things going on, could have just gone through this one in one day, to be honest. But it was a really neat book. I will say at 156 pages, it was just slightly redundant, because every page... So basically the book is just about his schedule during the first Back to the Future, because he was doing the show Family Ties, and he had to do them both at the same time. He had to do the TV show during the day, and then afterwards it was Back to the Future time, then he'd go home and sleep for a few hours, and then he would have to be on Family Ties. And he just talks about that, and he shares a few like interesting and funny stories. There's also a bunch of pictures in this book, but it was just slightly redundant, because I don't know, he just talks about how busy he was, and I get that, really, and I know he's painting the picture, but I just felt a few times I was like, did I already read this page? Because I think he just said this. But still pretty fun little neat book. That's it for me, for everything I read in December plus one read from November. So I have no idea what I'm going to read in January. I might read a book by my favorite author, Cornell Woolrich, which I do plan to do like an author spotlight on him and maybe a couple others. I did record one. I didn't like it. Maybe I'll try my hand at it again. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really set like a goal of how many books. I don't really keep track, but I think maybe I'll sign up on Goodreads and start tracking these like I do on Letterboxd with movies. But yeah, I don't know, for New Year, I mean, my goal is always basically like I'm going to read 2 books a month, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, doesn't matter. But I just know that I do want to read some more of the classics. I do have somewhere over right here the short novels of John Steinbeck. I've got where is it? right here, The Grapes of Wrath. So I'm definitely going to read some more Steinbeck at least. I've got a copy of How Green Was My Valley, and I've got a few memoirs and some other things around here. So yeah, I've got a lot to go through. So many piles of books I haven't read. But yeah, guys, I'll probably be doing these monthly at least. Whatever I've been reading videos, and I'm still trying to come up with some other things I could do for the channel, because I really don't want to just do top 10 lists, and I don't really like doing like single book reviews. I like having like a few laid out, like this video, or when I did like the unhaul video. I think that might have been like my first video, was the unhaul. We'll see. I just want to do some things that maybe are a little bit different, that aren't just like, everybody does book reviews, everyone does top 10s. I'm not sure what all I want to do, but I'll figure it out. We'll at least do these ones, I think. We'll at least do like a monthly little, like, what I've been reading kind of video. But thank you all for watching, everybody. And it's Christmas Eve as I record and upload this, so everybody have a great Christmas. See ya.